I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host
Dr. Thomas Polucki.
on your hometown station 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, is our guest today.
Go figure.
It's crazy, isn't it?
How does that actually work? Am I going to be interviewing myself? I don't know. It's crazy. But we'll get to that in just a minute. First, I want to acknowledge that June, because we're almost out of June.
Yes.
The
It's
weekend.
really leaving.
Yeah, the weekend is upon us. Holiday. Some people are burning Monday and turning it into a 4-day weekend
That's
extravaganza. But the June is National Cancer Survivor Awareness Month.
That's right.
So, big shout out to Barb. She didn't beat it once. She beat it twice.
And if I get it again, I'm going to beat it again.
Yeah, we don't even think
Well,
in
I
those
got
terms.
the first one was when I was 75.
Yeah.
The second one was when I was 85.
Yeah,
And if I get it when I'm 95,
Yeah.
I'll beat it then.
there you go.
There.
That's right.
So that's a fact.
All right. I like your thinking. So we're going to focus a little bit, because I am the guest. You know, I was involved with both of those runs on cancer with
Yes,
you, helping
yes.
you through the whole process.
Yes,
And
you
I'm
were.
not about to say that I contributed anything special, except that we were able to deal with a lot of the complications that surround it. You know,
Yes.
you have an amazing team of medical doctors that were actually treating your cancer. But some of those treatments were causing you some trouble.
That's true.
And that's
True.
just the nature of cancer treatment. And a lot of people don't realize how challenging that can be unless they have personal experience. And the unfortunate fact is, so many people are going to have the experience, either personally or someone directly in
Very
their
close to
family.
them. Yes.
Very
that's
close to them.
Very
It's
true.
Way too common. Way too
Way
common.
too common.
So, I'd like to talk a little bit about your experience. Obviously, give you the credit due because you're the one who went through it all.
Well, that's true. I did go through it all, and I had wonderful doctors. My oncologist, Dr. Alexander Black, he was incredible.
Yeah.
He really was. And the treatments that I got at that particular office where he was located, they were wonderful. The nurses there were wonderful. Everyone there was so attentive and made sure that I was well taken care of.
Sure.
And I don't know, it was a very unpleasant situation, and I was so fortunate to have both of my children, who live in Palmdale, come and take care of me
Mm-hmm.
so that I could stay at home
Yeah.
instead of go into a facility, which
Right.
I did not want to do.
Right.
And of course, Russ was there the first time, able to take care of me. And unfortunately, this time he wasn't. He's up in heaven, but he was still looking down on me.
Mm-hmm.
And we both went through some rough times
Sure.
because he did also. He had Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the kind of shaking head movement. It was in his back and his legs,
Yeah.
which he had to use a walker
Uh-huh.
everywhere. And then finally he couldn't move. He had to stay in the chair in the living room. But we had to have 24/7 care for him because I couldn't. And that's where long-term care insurance comes in. And last week we had Miles McNamara here of Comfort Keepers. If you remember, we were talking about long-term care insurance, and it's so important for families to get that, in my opinion, because it paid over 2/3 of Russ's bills, which were enormous.
Mm-hmm.
If you can imagine 24/7 care at home, that is
Right.
not cheap.
No, I understand. Well, let's focus about Cancer Survivors. Cancer Survivors Awareness Month. We're coming towards the end of June, and I want to focus on that. You are a cancer survivor.
Yes.
You've done it twice.
Yes, and the last time was last September.
Yeah, and you're still recovering.
Yes,
you're
I still
mostly back to normal. However, it takes its toll.
It does,
takes
and
its
especially
toll.
as you get older.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I'm not a young person
Right.
by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, no, most people don't survive it the first time. You beat it
Oh,
twice.
I know.
You beat it twice, and you're still here. And the most that I can claim is that I've given you some support in your recovery.
Oh, absolutely, you have.
And that's really what I want to focus on, because that's the part that most people are not aware of at all.
No, and when you sit for long periods of time, that plays havoc
Sure.
with your neck and
Everything.
your back, all down your body.
Everything.
And that's where you have come into play.
Sure.
Because you have really, really helped me.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'm glad to help.
Absolutely. And I strongly urge anyone who is going through anything like I've gone through is to visit you, Dr. Thomas Polucki, because you know what you're doing, and you're not the traditional twist and turn chiropractor.
Right. No
I've
twisting,
been to
no
those.
cracking. Right.
And they put you on the bed, and then they come in and get hold of two parts of you and twist you around, and everything, you can hear everything cracking in your body.
Right.
But that's not the way you operate.
No, it's not.
You do a different kind of chiropractic.
Yeah, sure. So I was fortunate because my own health condition brought me to somebody like me. It's over 40 years ago now.
You're getting to be a little bit older, aren't you?
You
won't catch up to me for a long, 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 long time.
Sometimes I feel like it, but yeah, so I didn't even know about the other kind, the popular kind of chiropractic until I got to school, until I went there and they were showing us, what most chiropractors do. And I didn't want any part of it from the first time that I saw it, because this is before the internet or anything.
Yeah.
There were no videos out there to see this stuff. Now, it's like, the viral socialist media out there it's the scariest stuff I can see. I also went on to teach at 2 chiropractic colleges, and I tried to steer the students towards a more precise, a more specific, a more methodical approach, instead of every time that everyone comes in they get the same treatment, regardless of what their problem is, what their age is, what their body type is, any of those factors, what their size is. So, that was an uphill struggle, and I really wanted to try to make a change. And I taught at 2 chiropractic schools, and it was pointless. Like, there was no changing it. And now you see these social media stars out there who are getting millions and millions of views a day, and that's kind of the commodity that these celebrity doctors trade in. Like, how many views do you have? It's no longer what's in your bank account. It's like, how many views do you have on that particular post, that kind of thing. And you see the ones with the millions of views a day, like millions of views a day, are doing this crazy stuff that I would never want anybody that I cared about to experience. So we do things differently.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so much more, I'm so much more relaxed after being treated with what you do to my neck and down to my back,
Right.
and down to my thighs, because it's not taking me and twisting me around all over the place,
Yeah.
which hurts.
Right. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
some people like that. The people
Well.
who go there, who wind up at these celebrity offices,
Well,
are
that's true.
are actually looking for that because they believe that's what it is, and that's the majority of people who will go to a chiropractor.
Right.
The problem is the majority of people won't go to a chiropractor. Like less than 20% of the American population would even consider going to a chiropractor, and it's probably much more skewed in the senior community because of the value system of the people who, are our target audience. The seniors, grew up with Marcus Welby, and the doctor has all the answers,
Right.
and chiropractic isn't even real. It's a pseudoscience. It's and then they see. Okay, so here's a point that I'd like to make, and then I'd like to get back to your story. But I would like to make this point. Not just the crazy viral videos on social media that are disturbing to me in so many ways about where my profession is going, but long before that, the legitimate media. The only stories you'd ever see about a chiropractor is if that 1 in a million chance that they actually hurt somebody. You see that on the headlines all the time.
Yes.
And it's very rare. In fact, aspirin is hundreds of thousands of times more dangerous than chiropractic is, but they don't say that in those stories. They just say how dangerous chiropractic is, right? So there's that. And then unfortunately, like in every other business, there are some people who are just criminals, just out to scam the system. And you'll see that in the media as well. So there is a concerted push when it comes to the legitimate media to paint chiropractic in a poor light. And I used to be like, oh, there may be a shred of truth to that, but the reality is that chiropractors can't afford to buy real media time. They just can't afford it. But the drug companies do. The drug companies
Really?
own all of
Oh,
the
yes.
programs that you're watching in one way or another. So when there is an entire profession that says, well, drugs have their place, but look at all you can do without that. Look at all the relief these patients get, and they don't even have to take, 6 of these pills instead of 2 of these pills, and yada, yada, yada. So there's a very good reason that in all forms of legitimate media, you're rarely, if ever, going to see chiropractic portrayed in a positive light. So there's that.
That's very true.
That's very true.
Very, very true.
But then, I'm like banging my head on the wall when I see the one platform that could potentially level the playing field, and the most popular videos out there are of these insane things that scare me. Forget about the regular population. If I didn't know better, if I didn't have my experience, if chiropractic didn't literally save my life after 15 years of the best medical care couldn't touch my lifelong problems, if I just saw the viral videos that were out there right now, I'd be like, that's crazy. I'd never do that.
Well, did you ever go to a chiropractor?
Well, yeah.
Who
No.
twisted you and turned you?
No. That's what I was saying.
Yes.
I was very fortunate that the one that I did go to when I was having a disabling situation, and that it wasn't the first time, it was years of constant medical attention, and I go into the chiropractor's office. It's completely different. The guy actually talks to me for more than 5 minutes, does an exam where he touches me, he physically examines me, and I hadn't had that from any medical doctor, even the ones that did surgery on me. So that was the first step that caught my attention, and the second step was like, he's not prescribing any kind of medication. I'm already on 5 prescription medications. year round and taking countless over the counters because they don't really work, and also, resorting to some street drugs because I'm just not getting the relief that I need.
Right.
Right? And this is pretty common out there. And this guy instead spends some time, talks to me, does an exam where he actually physically touches me, does a treatment, and he doesn't twist or crack me. He just does what we're about to demonstrate, maybe in this segment, possibly the next segment.
Yeah.
What you've come to know as the treatment that you get and you prefer.
Oh, absolutely.
That has helped you, in your recovery from beating cancer not once but twice. So we'll get to that in just a minute. So this guy just does this very gentle, very effective treatment on me, and literally my lifelong medical conditions start diminishing almost immediately. Within 3 months, I know that there's something completely different going on here than any other doctor I've ever worked with. And by the end of the first year, I'm off all medication. And this is going to sound crazy. This is going to sound cultish, especially in this society at this time. But by the end of the first year, I was off all medication, and I haven't even taken an aspirin in 40 years. And I am not the leader of some cult. I mean, it's so just indoctrinated
That's right.
into this society that there's something wrong with you if you're not taking a handful of pills every day.
The handful of pills I take are vitamins.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
All kinds of different vitamins, A, B, C, D, the whole shooting match. And that's what I put in my body.
Yeah.
And there is an occasional.
Hey, where you get
time.
those vitamins?
I'm not telling. I get them at Dr. Thomas Polucki's office.
Okay. All right.
I have all kinds of pill bottles on my kitchen counter. And I have a box that has Monday morning, Monday night, Tuesday morning, Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. And they're all in their different slots because I take the different ones at different times, morning and night. So, and there is an occasional where I still take gabapentin every once in a while because nighttime is when my feet really start bothering me.
Yeah, when we get back from the great break, we're going to talk a little bit about why you're taking gabapentin in the first place and why you only have to take it occasionally instead of all the time. Every day when we get back from the break. You're listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS 98.1, AM 1220, HometownStation.com.
My guest today is my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki. And it's nice to see you again.
It's amazing. You never see me in the same room at the same time. Sorry. So we're actually talking about Cancer Survivors Month. Yes. And Barb, you beat it twice. I don't take any credit for beating cancer. However, I definitely helped you in your recovery. Now, the first time you got hit with a real nasty side effect of the cancer treatment. Not the cancer, but the cancer treatment. Yes. It's called peripheral neuropathy, and that's definitely a Scrabble winning jumble there. So peripheral neuropathy is when your hands and feet feel like they're on fire and you're stepping on tacks, and sometimes there are ants crawling,
pins and needles,
and it feels like pins and needles.
Terrible.
And that's all horrible, and sometimes the pain is so unbearable that people just can't deal with it at all. But one of the most dangerous effects of peripheral neuropathy is while all that is going on, you also lose the sense of feeling. You can't feel your feet anymore.
That's right.
So you're at a much higher risk of falling or injuring your feet, banging them into something and damaging them and not even knowing that is going on because you have no sensation except, and here's the crazy part, you don't feel anything except for the constant pain or the
right.
constant burning or the constant stabbing or the constant electric pain. So there's very few effective medications out there that can handle this. Some people are lucky, and some of the medications do work some of the time for some of the people, but then there's a whole big group of people that they can't even touch the problem with medication. So you were dealing with some peripheral neuropathy after your first round of chemo, and I was able to help you with that so that you could get by with very minimal medication. And I'd like to touch base a little bit about that, your experience with it, and how that all went for you.
Well, I was on, and I still keep some gabapentin around because I do occasionally use it.
Mm-hmm.
There's sometimes when my feet bother me, and it's mostly at night.
Uh-huh.
And also the gabapentin makes you drowsy,
Uh-huh.
which helps me go to sleep at night if I'm having pain or discomfort in my feet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I've been taking the whole time was the gabapentin. And I would take, I think, 2 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and 4 at night.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I was on
Right.
to begin with.
Right.
And but after coming to see you and getting treatments with you, that pain and that discomfort started disappearing, and I was gradually able to really knock off all the gabapentin. And like I said before, I still occasionally take it if I'm having some problems, which it's not that much anymore.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
awesome. Yeah, so that's a
So-
big win.
Oh yeah, it is.
Because most people, even though most people are totally accepting of taking prescribed medication on a daily basis, most people would not feel too bad if they didn't have to. And that's really, what the whole reason that I'm a doctor is not just to spend all day scribbling on a pad, handing them, say, fill this on, at your pharmacy. Trying to help people who don't necessarily want to need the medication. I don't ever tell anybody not to take any form of medication. That's between you and your doctor. But if I can help you get better in some way that you no longer need the medication, I think most people, well, at least some people, would see some value in that.
Well, it's interesting because the types of, and I don't want to call them medication that you have at your office.
Yeah, no, they're supplements. I don't have any
supplements.
medications.
No,
Yeah.
they're vitamin supplements,
Uh-huh.
and they've been extremely helpful for me.
Yep.
And I take them every day, morning and night, depending on which one I'm taking, because I don't like to do it all at once.
Right.
So, but you have a different type of vitamin there.
Yeah. So that's a good point. I wasn't going to go there, but thanks for bringing it up. A lot of people, including some of my patients, because I don't try to sell everybody who walks through the
No.
door vitamins. I'm just not that kind of doctor. A lot of patients who have been with me for a while, they walk through the door and they see the vitamins are there every day, but maybe a couple of months into care, you bring up something about something they saw online. What do I think about this vitamin or that vitamin? And we said, well, we can have a consultation and talk about it. And a lot more often than not, they bring in a shopping bag full of bottles of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I have to ask them, well, what are you taking this for? And what are you taking? And sometimes they don't even know anymore. Or sometimes they're like, oh, well, I was told that this does this and this does that and this does this, and more often than not we're able to get them down to a couple of different kinds of vitamins that will actually do what they're looking for, instead of having a couple dozen bottles of pills that they're not even sure what they do.
Well, it's interesting because I'm taking D and potassium, which I get from your office, and that was because my doctor said I was low in vitamin D and low in potassium, and I needed to get it back up. So that's what I've been using from your office. Plus, I have others there that I
Yep.
use as a multiple.
Yeah, and sometimes, there are a few areas where you really shouldn't bargain shop. I believe healthcare is one of them. That's my personal opinion.
Yes.
If you need to, spend a little bit less on a car, or try and find a better deal on a house or a pair of shoes or whatever, I totally understand that. But when it comes to your health, the bargain out there may not be what you think it is. So when it comes to things like supplements, you certainly can find the least expensive options at, like bargain stores, or even online now. Everybody's got bargain vitamins online now. But the problem is, you kind of get what you pay for.
Well, you never know what's in those bargain supplements.
Yeah.
That's the trick right there.
Yeah, there have been a few exposés on that, a few studies, a few stings, government stings, where they've gotten to the point where there's a push to regulate the sale of vitamins like it is a drug, like only doctors can prescribe vitamins. And I'm not a big fan of government getting involved in healthcare, because that rarely improves the quality and reduces the cost. It just makes more bureaucracy and less freedom for the people to make choices. That being said, there should be some kind of trusted source where people can look for information in order to get a better idea of what a good choice looks like.
Right.
And without, I went through 9 years of higher education in the health sciences. 9 years. That's
long
more than
time.
a medical doctor.
Oh,
I went through 9 years of upper class healthcare sciences. When I graduated, I only knew the basics about vitamins, about supplements. So to think that you can figure this out, just by doing a search on the internet, or that your general practitioner really, really completely understands which vitamin to choose over which one and why, is not a great assumption. I had to take 2 postgraduate certification programs in nutrition and functional medicine to really start understanding the differences between the different kinds of vitamins out there. And I'm not saying that to brag about, oh, look at me. I'm saying that to say that there's a lot of misinformation out there that is being fed to your doctor as set in stone, that this is an absolute truth and everything else is pseudoscience and bunk, and you need to follow this, and that you need to tell your patients to do this because nothing else is real, and you're putting your license, your reputation, and your livelihood at risk if you say anything other than what we're telling you to say right now. That is scary.
Oh, yes, it is.
That's a little scary. And every doctor is up against that every single time.
But look at what you have learned
Yeah.
in going through all of these classes and experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, you've learned more than 50 doctors all put together.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that I've spent an embarrassing amount of time and money trying to refine the approach to take better care of my patients.
And that's what you've done.
Yeah, thank you.
And because I think I'm better off having seen you and still see you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I hope I can take some credit for your level of health and what you've accomplished, but I am, all false modesty aside, I am a very small piece of that puzzle.
Well, that may be true, but still, in my opinion, you have been a big piece of it.
Well, thank you. And, I hope
Because
to
it's helped.
continue to be, like you said, if it hits you again at 95, we're going to kick it again.
Absolutely, you aren't kidding. And it's interesting. I think having a positive outlook has helped me.
Sure.
I mean, my brother passed away from cancer, but he was his cup was always half empty.
Yeah.
For that was the difference between the two of us. Mine was always half full.
I see, and I agree
And
with you
that's-
1,000%.
And that is such a positive thing
Yeah.
to have.
Even the kind of doctor that I am that don't typically treat life-threatening conditions, but I have a lot of patients with life-threatening positions. I can tell you that the biggest difference in the ones who survive and the ones who don't is the ones who are successful have a few characteristics that are unique to successful people. And one of them is they don't necessarily focus on the what. Like, well, what is it that is going to do this? They invest more on the who. Who's going to help me through this crisis?
That's right.
Not what new bright and shiny scam on the internet is going to be the miracle that I'm looking for, right?
Yeah,
So it's who is really an expert in this, who is going to give me the result, who has a proven methodical process and a track record and a history of helping people through this process. That's who I'm going to invest my time and money in.
Well, it's interesting because I keep getting calls from Advantage plans. And well, you can get this for free. You don't have to pay a dime, and this, and this. But I have to end up saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because you don't cover any of my doctors.
Right.
And I'm not about to change.
Right.
I've been very successful with the doctors I'm seeing, and I don't want anything else. I don't mind paying what I have to pay.
You don't fix,
You
you don't, you can't fix something that isn't broken. Don't mess with it.
Oh, I don't.
If your strategy is working for you,
It is.
and that's another thing. Another thing about the unique characteristics of successful people is they pick the who, not the what. They pick, they stick. They pick the right person, and then they stick with the prescription. They stick with what's working. And when something isn't working, they pay attention and ask for guidance from that who that they pick. They let whoever they chose to lead that strategy, they let them determine what the right course correction looks like. So you pick the right captain, you stick with the course, you make adjustments as long as you're getting where you need to be, and pay attention to your results, and you don't accept failure as an option.
Absolutely.
You stay with the program until you've gotten what you want. And I see so many people that the reason that they don't get better, the reason that they keep struggling, is they ignore those three rules. You got to pick the right person, you got to stick with the program, and you've got to continue on until you get what you want.
Absolutely.
It's only
Absolutely.
one of those three things that is going to make someone fail when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think we need to take another break.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS.
I was a small part of your success as far as your recovery from the treatment. I did not treat your cancer.
No.
You have a team of excellent medical doctors who were able to knock cancer out of your body with obviously your help. I was more on the side of the recovery from that treatment,
And
which
which
can
I am
really,
still
yeah,
doing.
which can really, be a challenge. So a few of the things that we talked about was our supplements at our office, which are not bargain supplements. You can definitely find cheaper ones out there, but cheaper does not necessarily make it of value. It
No,
just
but it's the ingredients in
yeah,
what you have
exactly,
that
and
are the
that
difference.
and that they are tailored. They're for your specific condition
Right.
with your specific needs and wants and desires, and we figure all that out in an actual nutritional consultation, which you're never going to get when you're just buying supplements online
Nope.
or in the stores or whatever, and you really don't know what you're getting. But that's a whole nother conversation. I'd like to get to the actual treatments that we do, because we've been talking around this subject all show long about. This is a little bit different. This is not what you see in your mind when you hear the word chiropractic or chiropractor.
All you hear is twisting and turning
Yeah,
and
so
cracking.
we don't do any of that.
No.
So a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we're going to get your bi-monthly visit in here live on air so people can see exactly, well, all right, so you say you don't twist or crack. Well, what do you do? What is that all about? So we're going to go do it right here, right now, in the next couple of minutes, because we're coming in towards the end of the show, and I'll do my best to explain what's going on. What's going on for the people listening on the radio.
Sounds good. Let me turn the mic. Here we go, and I'm standing up. There we are.
All right. So first things first, there are some known areas in the spine that have a more substantial result in the way that your body works. If there's pressure in these areas, if there's tension in these areas, they're going to cause a bigger problem everywhere in your body than anywhere else in your body. And that is at the very top, under the base of the skull. And this is where I spend a lot of time making sure that everything goes right. Now, there are other areas for sure. There's mid, there's, anything can potentially cause a problem in your mid and lower back, but the closer you get up in towards the top of the head, the more substantial a change you're going to be able to make. And it's so much more important to do this very gently, very efficiently, very effectively. So I found a point of pressure right here, and I'm just using this little tiny stylus that gives a little bit of a mechanical push, a little tap right in these areas. And did that hurt at all, Barb?
No.
No, you barely feel it. So it's not what you do, but it's where and how, in the understanding of what is really going on. And that comes from the who that you're trusting to make those kinds of changes for you. And like I said, I've spent an embarrassing amount of time, 9 years in school, 5 postgraduate certifications, probably $500,000 or more in my formal education. And that allows me to make some pretty significant changes in people's health without any of the scary stuff that most people think about when they hear the word chiropractor. Any feedback on that, Barb?
felt good.
Yeah, so it really is that simple. And unfortunately, I mean, that's all we're going to have time for. I hope the people who saw this in this online got a better understanding of what is actually going on here. But I'm trying to explain it as I go, and I've got to dual task it as far as narrating. I don't normally have to narrate my treatments. But Barb, how does that feel?
It feels wonderful. It really does.
And again, this is just
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about it.
This is just
And I can tell what you're hitting.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Just a massager that you'll see pretty much anywhere these days. It's not the what, it's the where and how and who's doing it. And that's going to be it for the show today. Again, Barb, thanks for being my patient and a cancer survivor. You've been listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, hometown station.com.